Bruce Arians addressed the team after the boat parade, and as Bruce Arians tends to do, he generated some memorable comments that were peppered with profanity. Here's a little bit of Bruce Arians calling his shot for 2021.
I cannot take credit for any of this. All right, we have the best coaching staff in the NFL, and we damn sure got the best players in the NFL. All right, and anybody that says run it back, bullshit. All right, that's Kansas City's bullshit. We're going for 2. All right, we're going for 2, and we ain't stopping.
Yeah, hey, everybody who wins 1 thinks they're winning 2. The only team that has won 2 since free agency really took root in the early 90s when the Cowboys were winning 2 in a row.
Yeah, but that was
and
still
systematically, it was still early. They were systematically dismantled once people figured out how free agency worked.
Yes, exactly.
The only team that's done it is the Buccaneers in 03-04, your first 2 years in the NFL. Since then, no one's done it. It's been almost 20 years.
Yeah.
The Patriots. Who did I say?
The Buccaneers, but, same quarterback.
Here's what happened. I spent like half of the season thinking the Buccaneers were the Patriots. Remember when the Buccaneers were getting ready to play the Broncos? And I'm like, what the hell? They just played them. Oh, it was the Patriots.
Yes.
And now it's gone 180.
Right.
Now I'm calling the Patriots the Buccaneers.
The
Tom
Broncos
Brady
won back-to-back,
too. The Tom Brady team.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's right. I forgot about the Broncos.
Yeah, but
how could I forget about
that
that?
stage of people were still figuring out free agency, the salary cap, and all of that.
No. You guy Kyle's dad had figured it out. That's when they were cheating the salary cap.
Yeah,
they were cheating the salary cap. But that's not facetious. They did. They lost like a third-round pick and more, and they got fined hundreds of thousands of dollars for cheating the salary cap. They did something with Elway's deal, and they did. They did.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But yeah, it's out there. It's out. Trust me, the truth is out there. 98, 99, they finally caught up with them, 2001, 2002-ish. And they ultimately took at least a third-round draft pick for the salary cap violations that were part of that team that they managed to hold together. All right, anyway, back to the Buccaneers. I don't have any problem with Arians being Arians. And, hey, they'll either do it or they won't. But it's not going to be easy. And as we've discussed, it's going to hinge in large part on what some of these other teams do that are trying to chase them in the NFC.
Yeah, definitely. And again, you said it's not easy. Bruce Arians, he knows that. He doesn't care. He's going to coach the same way no matter what. So he's not really worried about what other people think about him and, is this bulletin board material and everything. He's always got his team juiced up. He gives his own team bulletin board material so they play better. So you're right. They're having fun. I got no issue with that. And the big thing is, hey, what other teams do, and more importantly, what they do. I know that'll be a big factor in this. Yeah, the salary cap. What is it eventually set at? And then we know they got some high-priced, big-time football players here that are free agents, and I have a hard time thinking they can keep them all. I think they can keep the majority of them, but I would think 1 or 2 of these high-priced guys do slip away.
I've been hearing 180, 180, 180, and there was a report over the weekend, I think Shefty had it, that 180 to 181 is going to be the salary cap, but Jabari Young of CNBC had an item yesterday, and we wrote about it last night at PFT, that the NFL is trying to get the frameworks finalized of the next wave of TV deals before the start of the new league year, before they set the salary cap. So what you can do then. And Young says these deals are going to be worth collectively $100 billion, which means it's probably going to be 8-10 years of a package. Once you have that money set in stone, you can start shifting it around a little bit and maybe move some of the money to 2021 and smooth out more easily the impact of the pandemic.
Hopefully.
So that could make that salary cap go even higher, and it could eliminate the advantage that some teams would have had in an environment where players are getting screwed and they're doing one-year deals, and let's just go join some of these quarterbacks who are trying to go get a championship. It's going to put more even footing out there for the NFL if the salary cap is higher.
Yeah, it totally changes that aspect. You're right. For that guy that we've talked about, the Ndamukong Suh type guy who's, we're going to really pay him $10 million for 1 year, $8 million, what's going to happen there? Yeah, that will affect it. But that would be good news to the Buccaneers because they got a few guys where you go, they got to pay big time money to. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, like we talked about it a little yesterday, right, Mike? I mean, the two guys that jump out to me out of all the free agents, Gronk, okay. AB, okay. I think they're coming back. We talked about that. Sue, it's just about finding the sweet spot. Here's the graphic. To me, the two guys that are – and Shaquille Barrett, okay, that's another one. He can't leave. He's too big of a part of how you play football. So, I think they're guarantees to be back. Now, Levante David and Chris Godwin are the two I look at to just go, because, again, there's a lot of good players on this football team. They got young talent. And Levante David, I think, is going to be able to command $10, $12, $13 million a year on the market, maybe, right around that range. Chris Godwin can be anywhere from $16 to $19 million a year, I would expect, too. So that's the two guys I got my eye on going here into the free agency.
And there's that extra dynamic of breaking up the Buccaneers, disrupting their effort to try to get the team back together and win it. And Jason Light yesterday, there was commentary about those two people, specifically Chris Godwin and Levante David. Let's hear from coach and GM on those two players.
The owners, the Glazer family, they've given us all the resources to keep all you guys together and to keep you next year. And we're going to win this thing again. You guys ain't going nowhere. I love y'all to death, man. Y'all families deserve this. We deserve it. Work hard all year. You guys ain't going nowhere either.
Mike Evans with the microphone. He reportedly had told Bruce Arians he'll give up some of his money to keep other guys around. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it.
Yeah.
It's another thing when you start seeing the impact of that on your gross and on your take-home pay. That's a big thing to do. It's one thing to restructure and move money around. You're still going to get your same dollars. It's another thing to say, you know what, I've earned this, I deserve this, I've only got limited years where I can make this kind of money, but I'm going to voluntarily give up some of it in the chance that maybe we can do this again. And one more point on Shaq Barrett, $18.99 million is what it would take to tag him again because he was tagged this past year. That's going to be a tough guy to keep around as well because he's got a hell of a lot of leverage, and that's a big number that you got to put on him to keep him around for what would be one more year.
Right.
Because then next year it's quarterback money or a 44% raise, and I think that you make it even harder to do a long-term deal in 2022.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. He would be a guy that I would think that they're going to try to find a long-term deal now. I mean, it's two really awesome years, of his career for this Buccaneers franchise. And really, he was good before that. With the Denver Broncos, he was just kind of stuck in a spot where he didn't get a chance early on in his career. He was stuck behind Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware and those type of guys, and then never really got a chance to prove himself. But damn, he's a good football player. I would expect they do him first. Out of all these guys, he's the number one guy they figure out. Chris Godwin, awesome player, love him. But they have a little leeway there. They got receivers. So it's not like a necessity where you're like, oh, man, if they don't have him, they're really in trouble. No, they got a lot of other good guys. I recognize how awesome he is. And the Levante David's the other one that I just look at. Legend there in Tampa. Been awesome. But I think he is going to command a pretty dollar on the open market. And they do have Devin White. And just how far are they willing to go to spend on these guys, I think is going to be the big question.
That's the key when you have a Devin White and you look at the broader linebacker position.
Yeah.
How much money can you justify in that layer of the defense? And technically Barrett's a linebacker, although he's a pass rusher. But, between David and White, can you really put that kind of money into Levante David when Devin White is just one season
1 year away, right,
from being eligible for a big contract of his own? So that's going to be a challenge. And sometimes with those guys that have been such a key part of the team for so long, the team thinks it can maybe lowball him a little bit,
right,
and maybe squeeze him a little bit that way. And then the question is, are you willing to uproot your life and move just to get more somewhere else? And remember, the other thing the Buccaneers bring to the table is the no state income tax dynamic, which can be a significant thing if you're thinking about going to play for the Chargers, the Rams, or the 49ers, where it's 13% in the highest bracket. That's a factor in this as well. And that, it's amazing to me that the Florida teams, the teams in the states with no income tax, haven't made more hay in free agency, because that's a hell of an edge.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an advantage.
Well, yeah, you're right, Mike. I will say there is a knowledge of it through the NFL player community, right?
Oh, there is. No,
yeah.
but my point is, why aren't the teams in Texas and Florida better?
Yeah,
They should be better.
You're right.
They have that built-in advantage. All things equal, you go there instead of the state that's got the state income tax.
No, I mean, it's a valid point. You're right. There is an advantage there. I would say really the biggest thing through my years, I mean, I feel like most of the NFL wants to make their way down to Florida for sure. They all do because of that, the lifestyle, the warm air, everything like that. It's great to train in, all of that. So Florida's always had that advantage, really. But you bring up an interesting point. But I don't think it doesn't matter as much just because all is equal and these teams only got so much money they can spend on players. So, there's nothing some of these guys can do no matter how badly they want to go down there.
And the other side of this, beyond the guys that they may be able to keep, and I agree with you, Chris Godwin is going to be a very, very difficult one for them to justify because of the fact that they're deep at the position and there could be some free agents out there that would want to come take his place. There are going to be guys that want to come to Tampa Bay, whatever the salary cap is, if it's 175, 180, 220, there's going to be guys who are, when the music stops, they're going to realize big money isn't out there, so why not go play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.